Bro, so first of all, congratulations to your alma mater and to your alma mater organization, no, Ateneo Debate Society, for winning the World Championship. I was really amazed when I look at the people who made it to finals. We have like Sophia University, like people from Eastern Europe also there. I think last year was a university from Bangladesh, which was a champion. This is a far cry from what we had during our era, right? It's so
yeah.
the final was so whitewashed, or whitewash university whitewash, no?
Ano ba to? Ibang mini
Ibang
episode
episode na to. Yeah, go ahead. This is on the record because I like your discussion. So you were saying, so your sense is when it comes to the Ateneo Championship, this is really part of a broader picture of a decades-long campaign against the unspoken racism, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I guess we were too timid when we were debating the World Championships. Say it that this institution is actually it's racist, because it's like you went into a debate room, you were Ateneo, you were UP Diliman, you were UST, whatever, tapos kalaban mo Cambridge, Oxford, or whatever, Princeton. Talo ka na just by virtue.
University, Melbourne, yung mga Australians.
Talo ka na just by virtue of the name of your university. And it's strange because racism doesn't completely capture the word. It does partially, because there were Asians in Cambridge. There were Asians in Melbourne, right? There were Black people in the British teams. There were South Asians in the British teams, and they could still win, right? So the racism actually manifested in yung kung saan kagaling, kung anong university.
Same way na may mga konyo at mga medyo mapuputi sa mga Ateneo.
Ganun ba? Pero so anyway, this is the culmination of many things. First and foremost, I think it is a culmination. Let's not take anything away from them. Of yung years of dedication ni Toby at saka ni David Africa and Toby Leong to their craft. And if you look at David Africa's CV as a debater, he's won Australs, he's won Asians, he's won Worlds.
Universities in Oxford, right? Like
So David Africa is the GOAT. He is clearly the greatest of all time in Filipino, definitely in Filipino debating.
Definitely
Asian debating, right? He is the GOAT. Period. I don't want to hear about it. This is not a Michael Jordan, LeBron James conversation.
Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, no? Wow.
It's a real debate. David Africa is the GOAT, So the guy who was greatest debater of all time. And I've been a debate fan and a debater since 2003, so I have a very good historical grasp of what Filipino debaters, and there have been many greats in my lifetime, including my own coach, who I thought was the GOAT for a very long time, William Panlilio, but now very clearly David Africa is the GOAT. So let's not take away anything from them. So but
medyo na-curious ako. Can you tell us a little bit about David Africa? Do you know him? I mean, naabutan mo, na-train mo ba siya nung bata siya? Obviously, malaking age gap natin with this guy.
No, I know a little. I know a little about this. Sometimes
you watch them. I mean, how did they?
Yeah, I've probably I can't take any credit. I've probably given comments only to one or two debates in which David Africa had debated. And David Africa has been knocking on the World Championship for some time. And this is his third appearance, so medyo third time's a charm for him.
Semis yata sila before or finals?
No, they did it. So David Africa was like nag-world final yan in 2021, world final in 2022, world champion in 2023. So just to explain the World Debate Championships, diba? It's British parliamentary, so there are four teams. And then rinarank yan. So, and then I don't know how many teams there are now, but 500 that time I think.
Yeah, I know it's still
500 teams per World Championship. So just to make it to yung final in top 4. And then prior to that, the most the Philippines had been to was semifinal. That was Ateneo, Len and Jess during our era, and then hindi na tayo after that medyo nag-stall, hindi na umabot ng semifinal, and then nag-final
Octos lang,
in 2021. And it's really been a long road. The first time I remember, so the first time Asia made it to the world final was in 2007. It was technically the Singapore Institute of Management.
SIM, yeah.
And it was so hard because it was so racist. It was so difficult to make it to the World Championships that the way and I'm going to put this in quotes, the way the Singapore Institute of Management made it to the final was this. Singapore Institute of Management was actually Nanyang Technological University of
Yeah.
Singapore. What they did was they bid to host the World Championships at NTU for 2007. So they got that bid. The problem is, if you're hosting the World Championships, you're not allowed to debate in the World Championship kasi may home crowd advantage. So itong NTU na to, who had bid for the World Championships, what they did was they enrolled as MBA students at the Singapore Institute of Management and debated. And then they paid their way. They saved up for years and years. They debated in Oxford. They debated in Cambridge for a year kasi hindi sila undergrad, MBA na sila. They had flexibility. So 1 year, they effectively became professional debaters more than students. Wow. And they had to do it practically in their home court. That's how you made the world final in 2007. Because and I do not blame these guys for it. They had to do that because it was so racist. And so from 2007, when Asia makes the world final for the first time, you have to wait until 2022 before we win it. I mean, that's messed up. That's really messed up. And I remember, like another barometer for this is, for example, Asian teams during our time, 2010s, right? We would be able to debate in the semifinal or even the final of the Australasian debating championship. Australasia is like Asia, Australia, New Zealand.
You did the finals, right? Australasia.
So we were able to debate the final of Australasia. So that but the teams we were debating there, naka-level ng Filipino teams in the Australasian Championship, they would be 50 ranks, 100 ranks ahead of you in the World Championship.
Global, exactly, yeah.
Global. So paano yun? Parang nagiging bobo ba kami pag pupunta kami sa World Championship?
Yeah. Hindi siya nagko-correct. You're right.
Yeah, such a freaking racist institution, and so I just wanted to say that this is a huge victory against racism. And again, sorry, I'm talking too much, Richard, kasi ang dami kong feels about this.
It suddenly brought back many feelings in me. Somebody came out, it's like, what? Like, world champion? Like, wow! Like, this was unthinkable during our era.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it was just unthinkable. And the Asian team winning the world championship. Like,
ito yung tanong. During our time, you felt it, but did you ever call it racism? And did you think to complain about it?
No, I always saw it as elitism on all levels. In the Philippines, our schools were the elitists. If you talk to provincial schools, they would have issues with us. And then once we go out, they do the same thing. You get what I'm saying? So I saw that more elitism, right? I'll be honest, I'm not going to call out people, but I saw how provincial teams were treated in national championship. And that kind of riled me at many times. Like, and I remember someone saying, I'm not going to talk against my own.
These were great schools. I mean, these were really great schools. They just happen to not be Manila schools.
Okay, let's just put it this way. Like, for instance, what was it? Like from schools from Marawi, for instance, or schools from Northern Luzon, very smart, brilliant kids, no? But just because they were not Ateneo or UP Diliman or something like that, no? I mean, so my sense is I saw multi-level elitism here. I mean, I found it interesting that you found it also international, but I always said at multiple level. But I also really like what you're saying. Now, at least we're moving in the right direction over the past decade or so, and the change came earlier than that. Because I'll be honest, Leloy, I never found the ones from Oxford or Harvard as especially too different. I never saw it as too different. In fact, I got to know, I'll say 2 years ago, I got suddenly a request out of nowhere from one of the top universities in US, the debating society. I had no idea. I'm not going to tell which university, but they're one of, and then they said, do you know that we have been reading your articles are like matter material on different issues? Like, I was totally surprised, right? And they were asking me to give them some briefing about issue ahead of their finals championship.
Why?
This was like, so it suddenly bring back all of the memories. I had no idea. So my point is, I see now that they respect us, right? They see us for what we are. And back in the day, I was saying, yeah, they're winning just because their school got the right titles and all of that. And it took me some time to get over that, in a sense of not being too overly impressed with Ivy League schools or Oxford. As, of course, you and I make our way in the world. But I'm really amazed now that, you know, we are world champion. And then I nakita ko, my school from Bangladesh was the champion the other year.
Yes, yes.
Sofia, Bulgaria, whatever. Like,
Oh.
wow, I'm so happy. Like, they're so lucky. But I'm so proud of them at the same time. But hindi ako nag-congratulate online kasi medyo bitter ako kasi walang UP masyado doon. But I was wondering, what are you gonna say? Nakita ko si Bam Aquino, ano siya. Sabi ko, bakit Bam? Debater ka ba? Hindi. I don't want to be mean. No. But I saw you and Glenn made some comments on that. Yeah.
Bro, I was gonna say, yeah, you know, like, siyempre may Ateneo pride ako. So, you know, Ateneo Debate
please,
Society.
no apologies. Yeah.
Because this was really my home. This is where the Ateneo Debate Society was where I got my undergraduate education, I must say. The majority of my undergraduate education happened through debating. And so I'm very proud of that organization, very proud of the people, you know, from our founders, Sina Ian, to the current generation, to, you know, of course, you know, my generation, si Sharmila, si Glenn, si Charles, ganyan. So our core, you know, we're very proud of this generation. Also, you know, immense gratitude to my coaches, etc. So of course, nandun yan. But I also think it was a bit of a team effort on the part of the Philippines. So one thing that I always remind people is that some of the first people who really fought back against the racism of the World Championships were LaSalle. In fact, we're more, and I say this now because dati hindi ko masabi dahil syempre so Ateneo bias.
I don't
dahil sa Ateneo bias. Pero si Prabha Ganesan, who was from
right.
I mean, he was one of the first people who, I don't think he said racism, but he had an awareness of the structural inequalities of this. And there was something, I dare say, at least yung Ateneo mentality namin, very Singaporean about the way we dealt with the structural racism. In other words, we thought that if we worked hard enough, this will end up becoming meritocratic at the end of the day. And we don't need to respond to certain structural issues. Whereas when Sina Prabha were in LaSalle, and then when Prabha moved back to Malaysia, there was a kind of awareness of the structural racism. And I kind of regret at least when I was a debater, na I didn't pay attention to structural issues. I was paying attention to my own individual performance, my own training, because I thought it was just like, it was a meritocracy and we'd get there. But yeah, it was not a meritocracy. And it took people from various Asian institutions, and then, you know, not just Ateneo, not just UP, to get us to where we are. So it really is a kind of Asian victory, because it's an Asian victory of the brilliance of Asian debating, which has always been there. But
it was
it's
always
also
there,
an assertion of Asian of you know, third world power against structural inequality and racism.
Global South for the win.
Yeah.
Okay, now since we're gonna transition into a little bit even more lighter, like, did it bring back certain feelings in you? Because honestly, when I saw the news, of course, I'm dealing with a lot of things in my life. I'm already in my 30s and all. It suddenly brought back a lot of emotions for me. Like, a lot of things that I thought are no longer part of me. It suddenly brought back all of these emotions, including the UP Ateneo competitions. Like, ay, walang UP dyan, di ako mag-endorse yan. You know, like, it came so naturally to me. Immediately I said, semi-score, ay, walang UP, ayoko na mag-comment. Diba? Like it was so funny. Like, ang tagal na, like, it's almost 20 years, right? And naman, mga 18 years, 7 years, and like, that part of you never dies, right? It's with you. So it brought back a lot of these emotions in me. Although, of course, I'm not as impressed as I used to be. Like, before, in 7 minutes, I thought, you know, you can capture the brilliance of a complex situation. Now, of course, as we became academics, you realize you have to write 4 volumes about an issue and give a 2-hour lecture so that you can decently discuss an issue. So I'm not as impressed by the 7 minutes idea, but I'm always impressed with the intellectual dexterity that very young kids display in debating, no? Like, you can debate social law, illegal, cultural, IR, whatever, diba? So, ikaw, can you tell me about it? Like, did it bring out, parang na-miss mo ba yung adrenaline rush, yung yabang, yung
Yeah.
I don't want to be like I don't want to be like Titos of Manila, you know, like nostalgic about, alam mo, yung bata kami, ayoko naman ganon. But did you have that moment?
Oo naman, na-miss ko, you know.
Sure, right?
I really enjoy debating, and
bro.
really enjoy so much about it. It's strategy, it's it's knowledge, it's flair, and a lot of it is also acting because you're playing out roles there. Actually, one
Performative.
of my frustrations with yung coverage itong World Final to is quote yung winning argument ng team, making it seem as if that was the argument of the team. Those were the personal beliefs of the debaters.
Yeah, exactly. I think many
and then pinoliticize pa because there was a line in Tobilyong's speech which was against unity. And then yung certain anti-Marcos, yung mga gusto maglagay ng anti-Marcos spin doon, they made it seem as if parang binibira yung Marcos administration. That's not how it works, like he made that argument because he was assigned that argument. It's a game, it's a role-playing game. So medyo na-frustrate lang ako.
Yeah, na-frustrate ako sa, I think, was it Philippine Star? I don't want to. Sorry, multiple. I don't.
Wag na tayo mag-name. Multiple.
I'm sorry. No. But yeah, you're right. I saw some good friends of ours, debater friends, said, "Hey, this is a sport. This is not a reflection of personal beliefs." And that's what we always love about debating, right? You can go against your own personal beliefs if you're assigned a certain point, right? I mean, if you're on the opposition and the debate is about abandoning the Philippines, in the government, then you have to do it, right? I mean, that's the beauty of, you have to eat your own emotions and all. That's why many people thought if you're a debater, you're naturally going to be either a politician, journalist, or a lawyer, right? Usually those are the kind, I call them the Max Weber, the triad.
Bakit yung generation natin naging academics?
Exactly. So we're a disappointment. We betrayed our ako nga naging vlogger eh. So it's like I super betrayed my own cause. Like, dude, like you did all of that to be a vlogger. It's like, but the other thing I want to ask you, Lelo, is that, let's be honest, there's a certain yabang that comes with debaters, especially in a country whereby speaking English effectively is a kind of a marker, of not only status, but unfortunately it's even seen as a marker of intelligence, which I don't see a direct correspondence, to be honest about it. So there's a lot of weird yabang going on there, and ako, I was always happy about growing out those kinds of yabang, whatever I inherited from those days. Not to mention, I never believed that there's a correlation between English proficiency and intelligence, right? They're totally different things. But the swagger that I had in debate days, the angst we had against each other, it took me years to get over that, and then I tried to channel it in different ways, and hence I'm so competitive in my vlogging life, among others.
Marami akong napansin na ganyan, na yung debate competitiveness nila na channel into
other. It's just transformed, right? I mean, it's really like they go to academia, they're very competitive about their citation rate. They go into corporate world, they're so competitive about. And that's competitive about cars. I'm not gonna name names. I had friends who are posting Porsche and BMs, and I was like, I don't want to get into that game. Like, I'm competitive.
Ex-debater to?
Ex-debaters, very smart, very good. They're friends, and like, they're not even conscious. I know they're not doing it conscious. I know it's just them saying, "Hey, I'm still top G," right? Like, to use the insult term, I'm the top G, right? You know what I'm saying? So that top G thing is still there. But it's transformed in many cases. No, and I'm glad na, wala akong bitterness or whatever from those days, because I don't want to talk about it, but in UP maraming meltdown nangyari panahon namin that gladly didn't happen.
Curious ako sa mga kameta kung meron silang tanong sa atin about what it's like, kasi actually yung debate world is it's a very strange world with its own culture. So kung meron kayong tanong about the World Championship, what this means or what it's like, I mean,
no, we have to have a special episode on that. Maybe we should get sila Africa and Leon also on the show.
Yeah.
If you have their contact, put them on. I'll be interested to talk to these guys. I mean, these are definitely very smart kids that we have to okay, at least may mga support sa atin with my vlogger comment na hindi ako disappointment. It's like, I ended up a vlogger. Like, are you kidding me?
I wanted to pick up on something you said, which I thought was very beautiful, Richard, which is you said now we realize na yung mga label, yung mga schools, like there are smart people from schools everywhere, right? Na the smartest Ateneo de Davao student, the smartest UP student, the smartest Ateneo de Manila student, pwede mo ilaban sa smartest Cambridge student, and pareho lang yan ng intellect. But going through the World Debate Championship, kung yun yung first interaction mo with other schools, magkakaroon ka ng inferiority complex eh. And you have to unlearn it. And I think
you're right.
You kind of, well, I don't know how long it took for you to unlearn it, but when did you realize na, hindi naman ako naiiba dito sa mga ito Parang actually,
back then I already knew where
kahit sinabi ng World Championship na hindi pwede.
Back then I already know that intellectually wise, 1-to-1, like an alien watches two of us, and to put aside all the prejudices, it will be a very competitive fight. But for me, actually, once I started giving lectures all around the world, starting writing for New York Times, Washington Post, Foreign Affairs, maybe I was lucky too, because by the time I started, I think the structural inequalities were also being corrected. Perhaps I also benefited from that. I entered this world. Whatever, if meron man lang, actually my problem was more superiority complex, I think, back in the day, or whatever angst. No, I grew it out, because the more I dealt with these universities, very smart people, whether from Harvard Law School, I worked with them on certain projects, where from, top schools around the world, and Australia, of course, I, with ANU and all. I realized they're actually nice and fantastic people. So why were all these mean people in their debate societies that we would meet before? They're not like that, right? You see all these geniuses, engineering geniuses, econ geniuses I see in other schools. Hindi naman sila ganun. So parang siguro, sabi ko, siguro subculture lang ng mga debaters yan. This kind of angas, yabang and all. So maybe we had just misperceptions about these schools and all. Ako ganun ako. So more like I had the counter prejudice against them, and that was corrected throughout the time. But thank you for asking that. Actually, I was not very conscious about that. But for me, I very much feel ko talaga yung iangat ang bandera. Ako, nag-appeal yan sa akin. I'm very sensitive with that. Because the one big reason I became, prior to being vlogger, I started writing for all of these outlets around the world, is because I was sick and tired of, white people writing about my country or about things that I know about, or okay, I have nothing against them, and you're of course a Filipino based outside, but why should you ask a Filipino based out when you have Filipinos inside the country who can explain very well, right? And in fact, that's why I like Maria Ressa in a way, because she came back, she stayed in the Philippines, she built her career here. You know what I'm saying? Again, I heard about it, but I'm just explaining to you that's how perhaps I dealt with that. Whatever you want, like I'll be a voice for my people. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's a great way to end this kind of really mini episode on the World Championship.
This is a whole different episode. So maybe we can have a light-hearted self-help again before the end of the month. Thank you so much, Leloy. I'm so glad I raised the debate issue, because some kameta were joking like, bakit di ka nag-congratulate doon sa Ateneo? Is it the UP Ateneo thing? And like, di ako nag-congratulate. Sabi kong ganun. So yeah, belated congratulations. I'm looking forward to having the goats of the Philippines in debate. So the goat of vlogging will meet goat of just kidding, bro. Thank you so much, bro, for itong usapan hugot at nostalgia. I really appreciate it. Happy New Year, bro, to you. My love and prayers for you and your loved ones, and hopefully later this year we can catch up also in person. But before that, please guys, continue to subscribe to our we'll have it set up, don't worry. The Nexus podcast with Lele, I think episode 7 na tayo or something. So we're reaching episode 10 soon, hopefully. So more of this, Lele, I hope you're enjoying it as much as people are enjoying.
Absolutely. Thank you.
God bless.
Should we do the New Year's one? The one we are planning on?
Let's do another episode later na lang. Sige, yeah.
Sige, later na?
Yeah, let's just do another time, yeah.
Sige, yung self-help episode natin, we have to lang yung next episode natin.
Yes, that will be